Okay, here we go. It is episode number 9 of Can We Make Impact Wrestling the number one promotion in Total Extreme Wrestling 2013. We are using 2018-2019 roster updates, and we've been going pretty good so far. So far, so good. We have... just to kind of give you an update on the last episode, we had another successful television taping. Ratings were a bit down, but not way down to the point where it would cause any concern. I mean, it was less than 0.1%, or 1/10 of a point, I should say. So our goal for this pay-per-view is to beat our previous pay-per-view, and if you look at the history, Impact's One Night Only July, we did a B-, and it wasn't that bad of a show. The buy rate was pretty solid for Impact, and we're looking to improve upon that and carry over a lot of the momentum we've had from some very positive TV tapings. Also, we are going to be looking at the list of former Impact Wrestling championships. We'll also be looking at the Impact pay-per-views and how the history of that has evolved as well. And we'll also be, of course, doing our pay-per-view. We'll start looking at Impact Wrestling's pay-per-view history through the years, including things, the weeklies we're definitely not gonna concern ourselves with, but we'll definitely pick up with 2004 and Victory Road, and then kind of go from there with the different pay-per-views. So we'll talk about those as well, and we'll see what happens with our One Night Only August pay-per-view. So looking at the first ever monthly pay-per-view, you look at the Victory Road 2004. You had, kicking off the show, a 20-man X Division gauntlet match for the X Division Cup, which was not to be confused with the X Division Championship. And Hector Garza was the winner of that Battle Royal, or gauntlet match, I should say. He last defeated Kazarian to win that title. Then you had an 8-man tag match with R-Truth, Ron Killings, Eric Watts, who was Bill Watts' son, Johnny B. Bad, Mark Merrow, Pat Kenny, who wrestled as Simon Diamond. Then you had the Naturals, Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens, Kid Cash, and Lance Archer, who went by the name of Dallas in his brief run in Impact Wrestling. And then R-Truth, Eric Watts, Johnny B. Bad, and Pat Kenny won that match. The third match of the night was Mascarita Sagrada defeating Piratita Morgan. This was a mini luchador match, back when that was still super popular to put on as a gimmick. Then you had Three Live Crew, BG James and Conan, taking on Eric Young and Bobby Roode for the NWA Tag Team Championships. This was actually probably one of the better matches of the night in terms of star power, with Eric Young and Bobby Roode dropping the titles to BG James, who was Road Dogg in the WWE circles, and Conan. And then you had a women's match with Trinity, not to be confused with Trinity Fatu, Stephanie Finocchio. She was a valet for a little while in WWE. God, I cannot remember her name. I'm going to have to cave and look it up. She had a tryout match in '05 along with Talia Madison. But yeah, never really came, and nothing ever came of it. She just wrestled as Trinity. And then she came to ECW and worked there for a little while, and she was released in about 2007. So there you go. She took on Jacqueline, from WWE fame. Also involved in that match was Johnny Swinger, and his name in WWE was Johnny Parisi. He was super short run in WWE. And then Glenn Gilberti, Disco Inferno, was also involved in that match. And then the next match was a Monsters Ball match, made popular by, of course, Abyss. Monty Brown was involved in this one, along with Raven, and, of course, Abyss in a Monsters Ball match. Monty Brown ended up winning that match. Match number 7 on the card, Petey Williams defending his X Division Championship against AJ Styles, and Petey actually won that match against AJ Styles. AJ put him over. And then you had a last team standing match between Triple X, Christopher Daniels and Elix Skipper, and America's Most Wanted, James Storm and Chris Harris. And Storm and Harris won that match. And then finally, the main event was a ladder match for the NWA Heavyweight Championship, which saw Jeff Jarrett, who was the current champion, defeat Jeff Hardy. Not a very positive review of the ladder match itself. And I believe it wasn't, in the grand scheme of things, I don't believe that this pay-per-view was really all that good. If you look at people who rate the various pay-per-views, I think even one reporter gave one of the matches a 0 out of 10. So you had that to deal with. But that was the first ever TNA monthly pay-per-view, Victory Road 04. They would have another one in 2004 that we'll talk about here post pay-per-view booking, and that was Turning Point 2004. Slightly better than the first, and we'll get to that. Lot more names to talk about as well. Some of the bigger names that they brought in for this one, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. But let's get to our. We want to check out the medical for everybody. And do some drug testing here, make sure everybody's clean. And sure enough, all right, so we're good there. Everybody's good to go for the pay-per-view. All right, we are in the Worthington Arena in the Northwest region. Don't know where that is, and I guess we should probably find out. Worthington Arena is in Bozeman, Montana, home of the Montana State University Bobcats. Okay, so there you go. We are in a Big Sky Conference basketball team's arena. Cannot imagine it being that big. So there you go. Okay, so as we mentioned, we have all of our titles on the line. We have pretty much set up everything with the exception of the tag team division. I really don't know kind of where I'm going with that one. So we're just kind of winging it with the Lucha Bros. But our main event is the big one of the evening, the Impact Championship between our reigning defending champion Sami Callihan and Bully Ray. We've been kind of building towards this one for a while now, and that's how we're going to roll into this with those two. Sammy's going to come out on top. We're going to slow build it. And Sammy's going to defend his championship once again. We also have the X Division Championship, which I kind of want to do a fatal 4-way ladder match, but I also would like the idea of a 6-person ladder match, or even a 6-person elimination match, which I think I like better. So we're going to do a 6-person elimination match for the Impact X Division Championship, which is currently held by Will Ospreay. So, and I want to try to put in at least one talent from every level of push. So, like, we'll get Brody King in here. I'm not going to put Joe Coffey in because Joe's going to be in a tag match later. Let's see. Let's put Jay White in there. I'm disappointed that Jay White's push is so low. Kind of bums me out. We'll put Flip in there as well. Let's see, from our mid-card division, or our mid-carders, we'll do Zack Sabre. And from the upper mids, we'll do Sean Spears. And of course, Will Ospreay is our main eventer, who is also the champion. And we'll let that one run about 15 minutes for the X Division Championship, and we'll see what happens here. So now the lower division guys, we're going to want to look to keep strong. Brody and Flip and Jay. The rest of them should be able to hold their own. We'll do a decisive victory, and we'll keep it open so that everybody looks strong enough. Pretty solid match, if in terms of booking, if I do say so myself. Alright, so now comes the tricky part, the tag team division. This is a division championship match that we have not set up, we've not booked, we've not really planned too far with what we're going to do. So we're going to pack the card in as best we can. We've got a lot of different tag teams to get to. So we've got the Lucha Bros, who are the champions, of course. And then we've got the Briscoes, who we knew we were going to put in here. But then the question became, did we want to continue that with the Guerrillas of Destiny and Killer Elite Squad? Or do we want to put in Coffees and the North? Or do we want to do sort of a combination mix? And I like the idea of a mix. We'll put the North in, and we'll put Killer Elite Squad in here. Just so we can kind of scoop up some of the bottom of the card as well, and collect some of that. So we don't have singles matches with bottom card guys that nobody's going to pay attention to, and it likely will get a poor rating. So we are going to go all out with this one. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to go open so that everybody is balanced. Ethan Page, Josh Alexander, will keep them strong just so that we don't fall out with the bottom of the card. And, I don't care who wins it. I actually kind of do, but I don't think Killer Elite Squad or the North can win it. So I'm not gonna force a victory out of anybody here. So we'll pull that one in. We've got our Knockouts Championship, which we have set up as a Fatal 4-Way between Io Shirai, the champion, Evilise, who got a shot, and Tessa Blanchard, who lost the title to Io Shirai because I made a mistake and forgot to book a winner in the Women's Division Championship. So during a TV taping, which meant that Io Shirai beat Tessa for a win. Alright, so we want to make sure Tessa gets her title back. There we go. And now last but not least, we have our Impact Grand Championship final between Marty Scurll and Alex Shelley. This is a sort of co-main event tournament championship, whatever you want to call it. And I think maybe in the next tournament we do for the Impact Grand Championship, I would love to see Eli Drake win it. Eli, in the actual incantation of the Grand Championship, got so close multiple times to winning this championship and never did. And that's kind of disheartening. I think Eli is a great performer, great talent, and it was a little disappointing to see him not come through with a win. All right, so we've got some women's division talent. We've got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 women to utilize here. And I kind of want to space it out a little bit, and we'll see sort of what happens here. So let's see. Let's go Kairi Sane, and who can Kairi go up against? You know, I really like Kiera Hogan as a young talent, and I'm really excited to see what she can do. I hate putting Kairi Sane on the pre-show, but I think we're going to. And we'll keep it open and decisive. And pre-show stopper, Kairi Hojo. Okay. Let's continue to book our women's division matchups here. Let's do a 6-women tag match. That way we can hide Alicia Edwards. We'll put her with Scarlett Bordeaux and Talia Madison. Sort of a beautiful people part due type thing. And then we'll put Rosemary, Su Yung, and the Undead Maid of Honor against them. And we will post-show this one. Actually, no, I want this one on the card. And we will book that out as such. Alright, so let's see, we've used 6, 7, 8, so now we've got 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we've got 3 women left, if I can math correctly, which normally I can. Yep, so Taya Valkyrie, Tenille Taylor, Zia Brookside. There we go, and we'll post-show this one. And it kind of worked out that we did this way, because I think we've got some of the best on the card. We've got 3 of the better talents in the post show, and then we've got a couple. We've got Kairi Sane, who's an established performer, and Kiera Hogan, who's on the come up on the pre-show. So it worked out pretty well there. So now we've got the men's division. We will go ahead and wrap up our tag teams. The Coffee Brothers will take on the Gorillas of Destiny, and we will pre-show this one. I believe. Yeah, we'll pre-show it. Just to kind of get the crowd going. There we go. So we still have 85 minutes of show left, 20 minutes of post-show, and 40 minutes of pre-show. So I want to eat up some of that final 20 minutes of post with a matchup. I don't want to put the main eventers on there. I don't want to put those guys in there. We will use... Let's put a tag match back there. I want to put Vinny Marseglia and TK O'Ryan, part of the Kingdom, against Dave and Jake Christ. I like that idea. I don't want to overuse them, so we'll keep an eye on that. There we go. Whoops. Post-show. There we go. Okay. So now I've got 10 minutes of post-show left. Still have the 40 minutes of pre. And I've got plenty of time in the middle part of the show, the actual card, which now we can kind of eat up here. Jimmy Jacobs is available to use as a talent for this one, since he's not doing any commentary. And I think I'm gonna put him in a match. I'm gonna book him, and I think we'll have him go with Dalton Castle. Would be an interesting matchup for Jimmy Jacobs. Very interesting matchup for Jimmy Jacobs. And we'll keep it light, we'll keep it easy, and that should be a fun one. I think we'll have that be near the top of the card. So Chase Owens is the last of the bottom card guys. And we'll have him take on Matt Taven. Have these two get involved here. We'll have them work the crowd a little bit. And let's see, what else can we book here? Let's look at the bottom of the card here. David Finlay. Let's do Jay Lethal and David Finlay. Bet that would be an interesting matchup to see. So we'll go ahead and keep that open. And we'll slide that down to the back of the card. And actually, yeah, I like that. Okay. Alright. Starting to fill up this card a little bit here. And we'll go with Brian Cage, who I believe is the last of the mid-carders. He is. And Brian doesn't have a ton of big guys to work with, so we'll put him with Johnny Impact. I don't have a lot of, like, huge monster characters on this roster. So we're up to 125 minutes, so we're right in that wheelhouse with our pay-per-view time. Got 2 matches left. We will do Eddie Edwards and Eli Drake. We'll let them go a little long here. Get that crowd hyped up. slot them in right there. And last but not least, Rich Swann and TJP. A couple of main event talents here in Impact. Also, in the previous episode, we made a relatively generous offer to WWE main eventer and WWE champion Kofi Kingston. And he is WWE champion in the game as well. So it should be a very, very interesting offer. And I'm hoping that it comes through and we can land a very, very big fish. That's my goal. Okay, so there's our card for one night only, 155 minutes, and it's pretty well balanced out, and I'm pretty happy with it. So let's see what it gets for us. Wow. So for the first time in a while, we had a women's division match that actually did really, really well. Kairi Sane and Kiera Hogan is probably, since we took over the Impact mantle, the best women's match we've had. Pretty cool. Coffee Brothers and the Girls of Destiny got us a C+, with GOD defeating the Coffee Bros. Matt Taven and Chase Owens kind of killed the crowd a little bit. Then we got Jay Lethal, David Finlay, doing some pretty good work there. Our women's Division 6-person tag match was okay. Eddie Edwards and Eli Drake. Great chemistry. Gave us a pretty solid match there, too. Dalton Castle and Jimmy Jacobs. Kinda not as good as I had hoped. Johnny Impact and Brian Cage did okay. Pretty solid there. Tessa Blanchard picks up the women's championship. TJP and Rich Swann with a pretty decent match. Our tag match, not all that great, but Lucha Bros continue to hang on to those titles. Our 6-person elimination match for the X Division title, Will Ospreay still winning. Defense number 4 of the X Division Championship for him. Marty Scurll defeats Alex Shelley to win our tournament. And Sami Callihan, Bully Ray. Pretty good match there. One of the matches of the night. And then our post, a poor match on the women's side and a poor match on the tag side. The show increased our popularity in 40 regions. We had a C+ final rating. Drew 8,100 people. Pretty pleased with that. I'm going to give a little bit of a pep talk to Kairi Sane and Kiera Hogan for being awesome. And we are going to praise David Finlay Jr. for doing the work and putting in a good match against Jay Lethal. Alright, there we go. Okay, so that wraps up our pay-per-view. While we're waiting for a wrap-up, we'll talk about Turning Point 2004, the Impact pay-per-view. Second ever pay-per-view for them. A little bit better than the first pay-per-view, and it actually had one of the matches, actually the main event match is one of the number 6 50 greatest moments of the first 4 or 5 years of Impact Wrestling. We'll get to that in just a moment. The first match on the card, the NWA World Tag Team Championship. Very interesting that they would lead off with this match, but it worked out pretty well. You had Team Canada, Eric Young and Bobby Roode, with Scott D'Amore taking on 3 Live Crew with Brian James, Ron Killings, and Conan at ringside. And Team Canada would actually pick up the win and get their tag team championships back. You had a 6-man tag match following that. Sonny Siaki, Hector Garza, and Sanjay Dutt, with his first appearance on a Impact monthly pay-per-view card, taking on and defeating Kid Cash, Michael Shane, and Frankie Kazarian, with Tracy Brooks at ringside. Then you had Monty Brown taking on Abyss in a Serengeti survival match, which is basically just a hardcore match. Following that, you had a tag team match with Jackie as the special guest referee. So you had Pat Kenny and Mark Miro taking on Johnny Parisi, Johnny Swinger, and Disco Inferno, Glenn Gilberti, with Stephanie Trinity at ringside for them. Then you had a one-on-one match with the pay-per-view debut on Impact for DDP. He beat Raven. The X Division Championship, Petey Williams, defended his championship against Chris Sabin successfully. You had a 6-man tag team match with AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and a mystery partner taking on Jeff Jarrett, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. Of course, if you follow TNA at all, you know that the mystery partner ended up being Randy Savage. So AJ, Jeff Hardy, and Randy Savage picking up the win against Jeff Jarrett, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. And then the match of the night, the main event, and one of the best matches in the first 5 years of TNA's history, a 6 sides of steel match, because TNA was using the 6-sided ring, and it saw America's Most Wanted, Chris Harris and James Storm, beat Triple X, Christopher Daniels, and Elix Skipper. So not a terrible card. Some solid star power for Impact at the time, and you ended up with one of the best moments, best matches in your promotion's history in the first 5 years. So that was it in terms of monthly pay-per-views for 2004. 2005, there were a few more, and we'll get to those here in just a minute. Probably in our next episode, we'll start the 2005 discussions, because now we're done here. So let's see. It has come into light that poor buy rates. I didn't think we had poor buy rates, but okay. Impact off pay-per-view. So there's some concern over our buy rates. But the show was great. We drew 8,100 fans, a lot of praise. So I'm not really sure what the problem is with that, and we'll work to fix that. Let's see, what else do we got here? Killian Dane and Kofi Kingston became tag team champions. That's interesting. It's an interesting pairing there. Death Before Dishonor was last night. Derek Moore, referee, re-signs with WWE. Alright, so our bid to sign Kofi Kingston, WWE has altered their bid as well. Not being seriously considered, so we're going to stick with the offer we have now on the table. $26.5 a month for 5 years, 40% bonus per pay-per-view, and wage matching is our current offer to try to land a big fish who is now a dual champion, the SmackDown Tag Team Champion and the WWE Champion. So we got some people that are banged up: Dalton Castle, Eli Drake, Phoenix, Eddie Edwards, and Bully Ray. Buy rate warnings, we knew about that. And what was our buy rate? 1.13, so down from our last pay-per-view, which is very interesting considering all the momentum we had built up during TV tapings. So we're going to have to switch some things up, and I'm hoping we can get we can land somebody like a Kofi Kingston that we can get in before the September pay-per-view, the one-night-only pay-per-view in September. So that's going to wrap it up for our pay-per-view special. Thank you for watching. Our next episode, we will do some TV taping. We'll talk about the 2005 pay-per-views, including Final Resolution, and We will continue to run down the history of Impact Wrestling as we try to make it the #1 promotion in the world in Total Extreme Wrestling 2013. We'll save it before we forget. Thanks for watching. My name is the Mayor Jason Smith, and we'll see you next time.